Okay, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to the South Korean and Japanese colleague. So, yes, I can see at least around 30 participants had already joined. So, maybe we can start on time. It's a good sign for us, the organizer, that you are joining on time. So, let me, if we go by the schedule, so first I will introduce the organizers who are will already here. And the later on, my dear friend Suzanne will introduce how the today's webinar will go, what are the presentations, and what are the stages that we are following through the South Korean workshop and even after the till the feedback. So let me start with the my own team. Okay, so let me go by the presentation schedule. So first presentation is by the Yali Wang. Yali, you can wave your hand. She is from the UNFCCC, and most of you are aware. So she is the first presentation. Later on, we will take presentation from the our my office, that Fernando Ferris. Fernando, you can, if you turn on your screen for 1 minute. She is a senior mitigation advisor in the UNEP Copenhagen Climate Center. Also, we have Aimgul Karimai. She is also supporting the CBIT GSP project, and she is also the mitigation specialist in it. So yes, Fernando and Aimgul is supporting also with the Seoul workshop, everything. And Aimgul is also, you can meet you can meet her at the Seoul. So yes, and the Mirela is also here. She will also present today the FAO NDC tracking tool. You will get to know how to install and everything. And she will be there also in the Seoul workshop. So yes, and the Suzanne is the next presentation, and I will already introduce her. So and the another is the our facilitator, Josh. Can you? Yes, you can see her. Yeah, you can see him in the presentation. Yeah, and he will be there also in the Seoul. So he will organize and will keep you energized and organized in the Seoul. And yes, from the Patpa side, we have three colleagues. So first is the Simon. Simon is also the advisor in the GIZ and also supporting this workshop. Second is the Rebecca is also joined. You can see her. And the third is the Lucas. So these are the our organizers. And from the South Korean side, we have also the Milan and Don. So these two people are also supporting the our NDC tracking workshop, and we are also thankful and greatly appreciate their support that we are hosting in the South Korea, the beautiful city of Seoul. So I think everyone has intro. Yes, so you can see the Dawn. See here, yeah. Okay, so thank you the organizers for joining, and you can continue to listen, and they also want to you can see. So maybe if you have a 1 2 minutes, it's not in this agenda, but I will request everyone to just turn on their camera so everyone can see and read your name. And maybe I can take one or two pictures. So please turn on your camera for 1 or 2 minutes. Yes. Yeah. So the excited NDC tracking participant. Yeah, I can see. Let me take one shot again. Just one more. Keep smiling or say NDC, which will be difficult for all of us. Yeah. So thank you everyone for joining today in time, and let's start the today's webinar. So my colleague Suzanne will introduce the today's webinar and the flow of today's workshop. So yes, the Suzanne floor is to you.
Yes, thank you so much, Jaipal, and from my side, a very warm welcome also here from Copenhagen. So my name is Susanne Conrad, and I'm a project officer at the UNIP Copenhagen Climate Center, working on the CBGSP project. Many of you should know by now what CBGSP stands for, but I just quickly repeat it. So CBGSP stands for the Capacity Building Initiative for Transparency Global Support Program, which is a global support project funded by Jeff, implemented by UNIP, and executed by the UNIP Copenhagen Climate Center, from where we are joining today. So the objective of the CBGSP is to support countries in the transition to the enhanced transparency framework, and we do this through multiple support modalities such as trainings, in-country support, reviews, and we also have 10 transparency networks around the globe. And yeah, the Asian network is of course a really big network as part of the CBGSP project. Yeah, so thank you so much for joining us today, and also for joining us in the in-person training in Seoul in the next couple of weeks, which we are really excited about. So I would just provide a short introduction to the structure and approach of the overall training, so you have a better idea of what the training entails and what you can expect basically in the coming weeks. Yeah, so just to give you a bit of background of the training, Japal already introduced the organizers, but yeah, just to quickly say again that the workshop and the training is co-organized by different partners, namely PADBA and FAO, together with us, and we're really grateful about this collaboration to make this training happen. And a big thanks also to the host, of course, of the training, the Greenhouse Gas Inventory and Research Center of Korea, GR, for hosting this training. So we're really grateful for that. Yes, so regarding the objective of this training, so it's really about, yeah, supporting national experts and supporting national teams who work on NDCs to get a better and thorough understanding of the tracking and reporting of the mitigation commitments in NDCs, which is, as you know, a new requirement in the upcoming BTRs. So this includes the use of the common tabular format as it's required for the BTR, the use of modeling tools for scenarios and projections, as well as NDC tracking tools that the country can use, and also the identification of specific indicators. Yeah, and we really hope that through this training approach, you will get a kickstart in tracking your NDCs, especially with the use of own national data and your own NDC, which I will explain more about later. But this training also serves to exchange experiences and lessons learned, because countries use different approaches, different tools. They have very different NDCs, and it's really new for everyone. So there are a lot of experiences that are worth sharing in this journey, basically. And last but not least, it's also about identifying common challenges among countries, so that there can be addressed through future support, and as well as opportunities for collaboration among country teams working on NDC tracking to exchange, basically. So there are multiple objectives, but it's really about getting you started to track your NDC, because it's really crunch time now with the BTRs due next year, and the tracking of NDCs is new for all. It can be quite daunting from the outset, but we hope that through this training you will hopefully overcome some of the challenges, and I guess also some of the fears that are related to NDC tracking. Yes, as you already heard, so the approach that we are using for this training is a 4-stage approach. And the first stage is this introductory webinar that you're joining today. So stage 1 will basically introduce you to the training, to the main concepts. We will provide you with instructions for the next stage, and we will have different presentations today, as Japal already said, covering the reporting requirements. You get introduced to NDC tracking. There will be a practical case from Mauritius, an introduction also to the data that is needed for the in-person training, as well as some guidance from our FAO colleagues on installing the FAO NDC tracking tool today. So that's it can be applied in the in-person training. So stage 2 will be the in-country data collection, where you basically collect your own national data based on your own NDC, and fill the templates that we provide with you at the end of the session. And it's a really essential stage. It's really important to complete this, as you will apply this data during the in-person meeting. And we also think we believe it's much more useful to use your own data in the training to really get started, and you really also get a better sense of what data you have in your country. Actually, if there's some data missing, where can you get other data if data is missing, and so on. Yes, and the stage 3 will be the in-person training in Seoul, where you will get introduced to define indicators, how to fill the common tabular formats as per the BTR, get introduced to the different tools. And you've already seen the agenda that Jaipal shared in his last email last Friday. So you already have an overview of the agenda. In the last stage is a follow-up stage, where basically the results and exercises from the in-person training can be reviewed and feedback can be provided from the experts. So you can basically progress afterwards with the tracking of your NDC. The experts are ready to answer any further questions that you might have. It's a voluntary stage, but we really encourage you to do it and to really get the best results out of this training. And we are ready to support you on that if you have any further questions and needs. Please use it. And yes, and if this 4-stage approach basically has been proven already and fine-tuned. If you go to the next slides, Jaipal, with a picture of the next again, and the next one, yes. Yeah, so just to say that it's this 4-stage approach, it's basically a proven approach. We have done that already, in 2 other trainings with 3 networks in total. So we had the first training on this approach in the Anglophone Africa network in May in South Africa, also together with PATPA and the Ministry of Environment in South Africa. And just recently we had a training for the Eurasia and the Central Asia and Caucasus networks in Almaty, Kazakhstan, basically using the same approach of the 4 stages. So it has been fine-tuned over time, and you're on good hands with us, basically. Yes, and last but not least, if you have any questions to our team, of course, Jaipal is the coordinator. He is ready there to support you, and Fernando and Amgol, our experts on mitigation assessments, are also ready to, if you have any questions, any doubts, please feel free to reach out to us. Yes, back to you, Jaipal. Thanks.
So yes, thank you, Suzanne, for the introducing the overall process of the workshop and the all stages, that all stages are important. So all the participants are requested to kindly attend this, all the first and the most important, the second stage of the process, where we need some data from you so you can understand and you can do some familiarize with the NDC tracking tables. So without wasting time, I will introduce our first presentation from the UNFCCC colleague Yali. So Yali, floor is yours.
Thank you, Jaipal. Thank you, Suzanne, for inviting me to this webinar. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Yani Wang. I work for the UNFCCC Secretariat, and I support developing countries in transparency reporting. And my presentation today will introduce very briefly ETF reporting requirements with a focus on reporting information to track progress of the NDCs. So let me share my screen. See my screen? Wait, good. Okay. Also turn from the camera, maybe. Okay, so and as we all know that Article 13 of the Paris Agreement established an enhanced transparency framework for action and support in order to build mutual trust and confidence among the parties and to promote the effective implementation of the Paris Agreement, with built-in flexibility, which takes into account parties' different capacities and builds upon the collective experience and recognize the special circumstances of LDCs and SEEDs. From the PowerPoint, you can see that the purpose of Transparency for Action is to provide a clear understanding of climate action, including clarity and tracking of progress towards NDCs and adaptation actions. And the purpose of Transparency for Support is to provide clarity on support provided and received by individual parties in the context of climate change actions, and also to provide a full overview of aggregate financial support provided. Those information will be fed into the global stocktake inventory, which is a mechanism to determine collective progress towards achieving the purpose and long-term goals of the Paris Agreement. The cost structure of the ETF, as you can see from this diagram, includes reporting, which is a BTR reports, technical expert review, and facilitative multilateral consideration of progress. So the detailed guidance on the reporting, review, and consideration process for the information to be submitted, and by making those reports publicly available, the ETF will make it possible to track the progress made by each country. In this way, it will be possible to compare a country's actions against its actions and ambitions as described in its NDCs. To ensure that exercise is as robust and accurate as possible, the parties agreed to the common tablet formats for tracking progress towards NDCs, among other tables, outlines, and formats for ETF reporting agreed at COP26 2021 in Glasgow. As we know that the ETF builds on and enhances the existing MRV arrangements under the convention. Broadly speaking, the main areas of enhancement are under the ETF, all parties will use the same set of modalities, procedures, and guidelines with flexibility to those developing countries that need it in the light of their capacities. And to the extent possible, parties need to identify, regularly update, and report on areas of improvement. Another enhancement is that most of the provisions and requirements are mandatory, and also inability to fulfill certain provisions under the reporting. The TER and FMCP can prompt the mechanism to facilitate implementation of and promote compliance to initiate consideration of the issue. As mentioned, MPGs for ETF specify the flexibility provisions for the developing country parties, and specific flexibility provisions are provided in the MPGs, including those applies to reporting information to track progress in implementing and achieving the NDCs. This table lists the NDC-related flexible provisions, and for more information, please see our updated ETF handbook, which was published a few months ago. Here I included the link to the handbook, so please feel free to go to that publication to see more information. Nevertheless, since the MPGs for ETF were guided by the principle of building on and enhancing the transparency arrangements under the convention, it is no surprise that several reporting and review requirements under the ETF are similar and/or consistent with those of the current MRV arrangements under the convention. As you can see from these slides, the national communications will continue to be submitted, but the BTRs will replace the BURs. Several of the items you report on will be similar, but the legal nature differs. The BTR also includes information on progress towards NDCs, as well as adaptation actions. Transaction from MRV to ETF is ongoing. Parties shall submit their first BTRs by the latest 31st December 2024. However, LDCs and SIDs may submit the first BTRs at their own discretion. Here is a BTR outline. And you can see that Chapter 2 is information necessary to track progress made in implementing and achieving NDCs. More specifically, the reporting components includes A, national circumstances and institutional arrangements, B, description of a party's NDC, including updates, C, information necessary to track progress made in implementing and achieving NDCs. D. Mitigation policies and measures, actions and plans, including those with mitigation co-benefits resulting from adaptation actions and economic diversification plans related to implementing and achieving an NDC. E. Summary of greenhouse gas emissions and removals. F. Projections of greenhouse gas emissions and removals as applicable. And G. Other information. We have several guidelines on MRV and ETF. Please visit the UNFCCC and also CG websites. And I will share this PowerPoint with our CBIT colleagues, so they will also have links to those publications. Sorry. How do I close it? In the PowerPoint, I also included a few more slides on the detailed information on those reporting components. But at this webinar, I won't go into details, as I know that all those information will be covered later by this training program. And yeah, that's all of my presentation. Thank you very much. I give the floor back to Jaipal.
Thank you so much, Ali, for the informative webinar. So you have almost covered all the basic requirement for the developing country to report in the BTR. So yes, the floor is open for the question and answer. And if you have any question, so I can see one hand. Yes, you can speak. I think I can't see your name. It's showing as a guest.
Yes, I'm Mohsina Akhtar Banu, Deputy Secretary from Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change from Bangladesh. Yes, sorry at first because I wasn't busy with official purpose. So that's why I feel sorry. And I don't have any question. I just want to know the presentation obviously will give us by email. And I think that will be helpful for knowing each and everything and what should I do before going to the Korea. That would be helpful. And that's all. If need any important things to know before going to Korea, obviously we'll inform by email. That's all. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And thanks
Thank you,
for the
Mohsina.
presentation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, thank Mohsina for the question and thank you for attending from your busy schedule. So we really appreciate. And also for all the participants, all the presentations and the materials are available on our CBIT GSP platform. I have posted the link in the chat box. You can just see after 1 or 2 or after the webinar, you can find all the presentations and the material. And also for your kind information, we are recording this session. So we will also try to upload this through our YouTube channel and we will also circulate to you. Because if you are not able to understand, for the second stage, you have to go through a detail for the data collection. So it will be useful for you. So yes, if anyone has, yes, I can see most. Okay, this one is from the old hand. Is there any question for the YALI regarding the MPGs or requirement of the NDC or any question specifically to UNFCCC? Yes, so yeah, from the I think Cambodia. Okay, no. So by mistake they have picked on me. Yes. Yes. Please ask your question and introduce yourself also.
Hi,
Yeah,
sorry.
yes.
Hi, Jip. Sorry, Martin here from Brunei. Sorry, So I actually want to rename my account to my name, but it's still on default name. But anyway, just a question on the data. You mentioned about data collection during those dates. What type of data is being collected? Just want to know more about that.
Yes, so it is about the your country, specifically NDC. So we will after this webinar we will circulate some tables which are related to the our NDC exercise in the Seoul. So you have to you have to try to uh, exercise with the country's NDC. You can practice any. Of course, we are available for the support. So for the next 15 days, we will collect some data from your country's NDC. Whatever you can collect, like some countries have already have some kind of NDC tracking platform, or where they are all the data are from the countries are coming. So it's like a practical exercise before this your workshop. Okay, I can see a second question from the Vanika Bajaj, India. Yes. Please speak.
Hi, Jaipal. Greetings to everyone. My question is regarding the tracking of qualitative NDCs. Will the training, which is going to take place in Seoul, cover the tracking of qualitative NDCs as well, if a country has submitted that to the UNFCCC, or it will just cover the filling of CTFs with respect to the quantitative NDCs? Thank you.
Yes, Vanika, thank you for the question and the important. Yes, we understand that qualitative and quantitative both are the goals in the NDC that countries have mentioned, and we are covering both the because the all the tables we are you will practicing the all the table CTF in the Seoul workshop. And if you can wait for the next presentation, so Fernando and Mgul will show you the how, what are the tables and how you can fill. So Mgul also showing the practical example of the one country that how they have filled the data. So you will get to know about that. So I will request you to some wait for some more time.
Thank you.
And participants are all welcome to ask any question to the YALI related to the MPG, CTF requirement, NDC tracking. Okay, I think YALI has covered everything perfectly. So let's go for the next presentation. Thank you, Yali, for informative and taking time from the busy schedule. We are very grateful to you.
Thank
So
you
next
for having
presentation,
me.
yeah. So next presentation is from my colleague Fernando. So he will cover the all the tracking and the UNFCCC data compilation. What are the templates and the tools for the BTR preparation, including the NDC tracking, indicators, and the projection. So yes, you can we will also take the question after the presentation, so you can whatever your question, either you can put it in the chat box or you can ask directly to Fernando after the presentation. So yes, Fernando, floor is to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jaipal. I will proceed to share my screen.
Yes.
So hopefully now you will be in a position
Yes, we can see it.
To see it. And well, good morning, colleagues from Denmark. My name is Fernando Farias, as Jaipal introduced me. I work for a number of years in the Copenhagen Climate Center, and this time I'm commenting you and introducing you a bit to the relevance of tracking progress of mitigation. This will be a hot topic in the Seoul sessions. In the Seoul 3 days, you will have the opportunity to go very deep on that. But what I wanted to do now is to talk on why it's important and what tools we have to assess and track progress of mitigation. And what we have here is a reporting process where the different countries are assessing how their NDC targets are complied, or what is the process they are preparing to comply with their commitments, especially in mitigation. For this, we have the main tool is the National GHG Inventory that all countries have been working for a number of years. So this is not very new. But what is new is that this NDC tracking brings a number of other additional elements that we also need to take into account. And as you already had the opportunity to see in Jali's presentation, the information necessary to track the NDC is at the heart of the biennial transparency report, the BTRs, and the annexes. And this is important because we will go during Seoul, not only in the context of the biennial transparency report, but we also will go to the annexes because the annexes contain the common tabular format, the CTF. And what is important from the CTF is that if we follow these tabular formats that are not compulsory to follow, but if we follow, we will be in a very good position to fulfill all the requirements that the Article 13 and the MPGs put on countries on how to report transparency in a proper way. So, for instance, in this table on the right-hand side is a copy of the appendix of the CTF, and we will go through this table, for example, filling with the examples of countries that are already started to fill the prepare the BTRs, but also with your own information. And this is the reason it is so important that you come prepared to the Seoul event. And as my colleague Mgul informed you, what information is needed in order to produce exercises that are more meaningful for you. We will go with a number of exercises, but we will consider both the national GHG inventory data, and that will be useful for complying with the section 3.6C. But also, and this I think is very relevant, there are also mitigation policies, measures, actions, and plans that need tracking and that go beyond the GHG inventory. And for this also, we will have particular exercises for this table 5 that will allow us to do a proper tracking of these policies, measures, actions, and plans. Um, what we have in practical terms is that we will have a number of elements into the table. We will have the targets that are coming from the NDC, but also we will have a new element, at least in terms of the UNFCCC process, that is the progress indicators. And progress indicators are key in the case of the common tabular formats and in the case of the NDC tracking. The reason is that with progress indicators, countries will be able to report in practical terms either what are expecting, and for this they will report on projections, but also what they have already achieved. And that's the reason progress indicators are so important. We will devote some particular sessions in Seoul to talk about indicators, to see how can we create better indicators, what we call smart indicators, and how important are they to do a proper tracking. We usually think that indicators are related only with GHG emissions, no? And here I'm presenting a number of indicators in this report, but the Economic and Social Council that identified more than 150 indicators. A number of them are devoted to greenhouse gas emissions. And these are like the most common indicators that we have and countries use. But we also have a number of other indicators that are not directly GHG emissions related, but are very good for indicating us how the different actions are progressing into our countries. And we will also conduct some examples with this kind of indicators, but also asking you for some data related with some particular actions that you may have included in your NDC and you are already starting to implement into your countries that will allow to fill also the common tabular formats. The common tabular formats in the current situation are basically a PDF file with a total of 13 tables, one appendix, and the good thing is that if you follow these common tabular formats, all the elements of the MPGs related with um, mitigation tracking will be covered. I think that the focus will be in the information to track progress on NDC, but also the other elements will be covered. We have 3 days, so it's an opportunity to go deep and to see the different tools that are available. We are very content that we already conducted some similar trainings in other parts of the world. So we are bringing to Seoul our own experiences on what was more interesting for countries, what countries thought that they were needing more, and we are trying to put all this information in your hands in the following month in Seoul. I just wanted to finalize my presentation to provide you in this PowerPoint that, as Jaipal said, it will be available shortly to you. A number of products that our colleagues from the Partnership on Transparency in the Paris Agreement, PATPA, has been producing in the last months, and that we are confident that are very beneficial for countries in order to have a number of written materials or videos that will be useful for the coming months that are coming for the preparation of the BTRs. And thank you for your attention, and back to you, Jepal.
Yes, thank you, Fernando, for the starting presentation of the NDC tracking, which covers most of the topics, and hope the participants get idea about the NDC tracking indicators and the CTF tables. And so floor is open to everyone. You can ask any question to the Fernando's presentation. You can raise your hand or you can directly speak.
I'm Mohsina from Bangladesh. I just want to know, as I work in planning wing right now in our ministry. So when I read any DPP, that times I saw the log frame. So log frame has the variabilities of indicators and measurement of indicators. So in that NDC, nationally determined contribution tracking system, is also has that type of indicators for measuring, for that type of indicator, like how we can identify this indicator is achieved uh, um, by calculation with this 2 or 3 indicator. So that type of tracking indicator or others indicators? I just want to clear.
Yes, Fernando.
Okay, should I contest it now? Okay. Thank you, Osina, for your question. Actually, we encourage the use of logical frames, and we will show in one of the presentations we have, I think, the second day in the morning, talking on NDC indicators, and we say, and I'm saying in advance to what will be presented, and that both the indicators associated to logical frames are useful, but also are other indicators that are a bit simpler and that are more direct that also can be used. So for tracking the the commitments of the countries, usually commitments are like a percentage of reduction over a business as usual scenario or an absolute. Then you can use some more direct indicators, GHG emissions indicators, but also when the targets are a bit more complex, it is much better to have a strong base uh, under a logical frame that can allow to identify appropriate indicators and apply them in a better way. I think that this issue of indicators will be very important in order to identify how can be properly done a better tracking.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Fernando.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Mosina, for the question. So we are open for any question. Yes, this all materials and recordings are available on CBIT GSP platform, which link I have posted in the chat box. You can check later on, so you will find it all.
Jaipal, will you give the link by email so that I can track this whole
Yes,
presentation?
I will also send the email to everyone that after
Okay.
uploading, I will send it.
Okay.
So we are waiting any interesting question from the participant.
Actually, again, I want to say, actually, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, they just coordinate the information of nationally determined contribution. Actually, we are not implementing, we are just coordinate.
Yes,
Others ministry will do, and we are just coordinate. So I think some indicator obviously so specific to coordinate and tracking. I think when I will go there, that times I can understand, and I think this ministry will do it very effectively. I hope this. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree that it's a combined situation. Usually, the one ministry has to compile the information, has to prepare the BTRs, but the information that is needed is from the country, is the overall country, and it's an effort of coordination with a number of ministries to get the information that finally can be presented to the UNFCCC. The issue that we will discuss in Seoul also has to do with how to try to do some advice on how to speed up this process, particularly because the end of 2024 is very close. Countries are at full speed working on their BTRs. Uh, um, but sometimes there are some bottlenecks because the information is not coming. So what can we do in these cases that probably are happening to some of your countries? When in Seoul, you will have the answer.
Yeah, thank you, Fernando. Yes, Liz Silva from the Philippines. Please, you are muted. You can unmute your mic and ask the question.
No, I have no further questions. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, Hi, Jaypal. I'm
Yeah.
Elizabeth or Liz Philip from Malaysia. I
Okay.
do have two questions. Actually, what is the extent of our coverage when we meet in Seoul? Do we also include the social and environmental impacts of policy measures? um, um, reporting as well as the Article 6 um, um, reporting in our session. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, my list about these questions. We had similar questions and when we had the opportunity to have previous activities in other countries. Article 6 is something that we will have an initial look and I will say a discussion. In table 4, I think on table 3, there are some elements on ITMOS that must be filled if the country is in the position to start putting this information. Probably for 2024, countries won't be in a position to fill the part of ITMOS, and depending on the questions that we have in Seoul, we can devote more or less time to see these rows related with data from Article 6. But what we are expecting is that in the first round of BTR, there will be very limited information on Article 6. Regarding the social and environmental effects, our approach is mostly devoted time to the direct tracking of NDC emissions of CO2. But there are some tables of the common tabular format that go beyond the GHG emissions. For instance, we assessing some other indicators or response measures, and we will also have the opportunity to have a session on these tables and go beyond the GHG emissions. But to be very sincere with you, our approach is mostly related to GHG emissions compliance and tracking.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for the question, and we will see you soon in Seoul. Is there any other question from any participant? Um, yes, yes, teacher from the Thailand, I think.
Yes, thanks, colleague, and thanks the organizer and also Paul for a close coordinations. I just follow by the recent questions regarding the Article 6 of Paris Agreement. So Thailand as a country that we already have the ITMO, and right now we kind of struggling about how should we track the NDC, and then how can we reflect that on our inventory. So it would be like an unclear picture for Thailand on when we present the final result of the GHG emissions, and then when we announce the NDC targets as the BUR. So to us, it's like a different scenario here. And then maybe Thailand, and we have the colleagues here that who really in charge with the MRV tracking and also the formulations of the NDC will join that event. So we may need to learn about this. And I know this is like a new case and it's kind of lack of the country that have facing these situations. And we are now currently facing with the delays of the funding from the JEF. We try to get our fund for the BTR as soon as possible, but it's still in process. So it means Thailand will need to submit the BTR next year. as the decision, and then we're still pending for the support from the JEP. And then we are having the ITMO that we need to be communicate to the secretariat on the first IR, the initial report for our first project. Then this kind of the situation in Thailand quite complicated here. And I think if we have an opportunity to discuss with the team on at first we need some kind of the advisory from the team that what should be in place or what should be like the thing that we should have a focus in the short term manner, and then we can proceed all the thing within next year. So that's just want you to know that is might be have a good opportunity for us to learn this aspect from your teams. Thanks so much.
Thank you, teacher. I think that the example that will come in Thailand with the use of ITMOS will be very important. So I will inform my colleagues attending the Seoul webinar. So to be prepared and to put a special focus in this case of ITMOS, I think that that will be useful during the session, but also beyond, like a good advice to give to countries that will be like Thailand in a situation of producing something related with Article 6. So thank you, teacher, for letting us know in advance this, and we will be prepared for giving you the best possible advice.
Thank you.
Thank you, teacher, and thank you, Fernando, for the interesting question. Is there anyone? We have enough time for question and answer session, so you can ask, and we are happy to answer. Okay, I think we can move to the next presentation. So thank you, Fernando, for the beautiful presentation and all the question and answers. So for the next presentation, we will go to the Aimgul. She is also the mitigation specialist, and she specifically covered the CTF tables. So I think you are aware that for the NDC tracking, this is the new requirement in the BTR, and you have to fill the CTF tables. So compulsory requirement, it's a cell requirement. Also, like for the greenhouse gas inventory, we are filling CRT, common reporting tables, but for the NDC tracking and the support receive and support receive chapter, we have a common reporting, common tabular format. So yes, so IMGUL will tell you about more about the CTF tables, what are the tables and how you have to fill. And then after his presentation, we will take some question and answer. And then later on, we will also do some practical exercise with IMGUL about what are the data that you have to collect from your country during during the second stage. So we will give you some enough time around 15 days so you can do some exercise with your country's data. And before moving to the IMGUL, sorry for I missed the one of our organizers and one of our expert, Dominic Selden. So Dominic, if you can turn on your camera and just say hi to the, yes. Hi, Dominic. So Dominic will also teach you everything about the NDC tracking and the CTF table, and he is also there in the Seoul. So we will all meet him there. Thank you, Dominic, for joining today. Yes, I'm good. So floor is your. You can start.
Thank you, Jaipal. Good morning, good afternoon, dear colleagues. So let me share my screen. Now I'm going to show you the practical case of filling in CTF table in the case of Mauritius. So this is not yet official submission of Mauritius under Paris Agreement. Please note that this is a draft tables that we have summarized using the publicly available information from the NDC of Mauritius, National Communication, and BOR. So just to show you how, what is the example, the practical example of filling in the CTF tables on NDC tracking. So the first table is named description of selected indicators. Here, the countries should specify the name of the indicator and its description in the first row. And in this case, we can see that Mauritius has total economy-wide GHG emissions indicator, and it has one indicator. So if the country has several indicators, it is possible to add additional rows in this table and describe several indicators. If there are also sectoral indicators, then additional row can be added.
Hi, Karim. I didn't see slide. Will you show your slide? I didn't see. I couldn't see. Is there have any slide or presentation?
No, Mosina, it's Excel.
Oh.
She is presenting the
Okay.
Microsoft Excel.
Okay.
Are you able to see her screen?
No, 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 no.
Maybe you can.
I just
Maybe it's a
here, but
problem at your maybe end. You can maybe try rejoin or something. Maybe a internet
okay.
connection. Okay, I'm good. You can carry on.
But you can see my screen, right?
Yeah, I can see.
Okay, good, thanks. So also in this first table, the countries present their starting point level. So for the selected indicator, and we can see in this case, the starting point is GHG emissions in 2016. This is the year of the latest inventory, and this is the starting point. And the reference level is the level from which the emission reduction is calculated. And in this case, in the case of Mauritius, their reference level is emissions in 2030 in the business as usual scenario. So it's not necessarily the case that all countries will have business as usual emissions as a reference level. It could be also historical level. It could be 1990 or 2005, 2010. So so in this case, in the case of Mauritius, we can see that the country has selected business as usual emissions in 2030 as a reference level. And here 6,900 kilotons of CO2 equivalent is the emissions in 2030 in the business as usual scenario. Additionally, there is a need to specify whether there were any recalculations made from the latest GHG inventory and whether this indicator relates to NDC. So this indicator directly relates to NDC. The second table provides the information on the definition of this indicator and target level. So we can see here that the indicator name is total economy-wide GHG emissions, and definition is to reduce GHG emission by 40% in 2030 compared to business as usual scenario emissions in 2030, which is 6,200 kilotons of CO2 equivalent. So the description of the indicator of the target level is provided in the second table. In addition to that, there is a need to specify whether any sector or category defined differently than in the national inventory report, and also mitigation co-benefits of adaptation measures. And Mauritius in its NDC defined the mitigation co-benefits of its adaptation measures. In the table 3, this is the methodological table. Here, the parties specify what were the methodologies used for the first NDC, for the second and subsequent NDC, as well as methodologies for identification of estimation of the indicator itself, for the if the reference level is business as usual emissions, then how the business as usual emissions were estimated, whether IPCC methodologies were used for GHG emissions, if the indicator is GHG emissions, as well as accounting approach, like whether IPCC methodologies were used, what were the global warming potential data, etc. So this is quite big table. Table 3 is methodologies and accounting approaches. So during the Seoul training, we would be able to have a more detailed look on this table. Table 4 is actually the main table where we track the progress made in implementing and achieving NDC. And in this table, we need to specify the selected indicator. So we can see here there is a one row with a selected indicator, which is GHG emissions, covering all sectors. And if the country has several indicators, then he or she may wish to add additional rows in this table to describe all the indicators used by the country. So the reference point is the emissions in 2030 in the business as usual scenario. The unit is million tons of CO2 equivalent. And here in this table, there is a need to specify the historical emissions or actual inventory data if the indicator is GHG emissions. So here we can see that the data, this table, these columns are blank as for now, because in the case of Mauritius, we didn't have inventory for the 2021 available yet. So we are not able to fill in this table. So once the inventory data for 2021, 2023, and subsequent years will be available, these columns can be filled in. And the target level in the case of Mauritius is minus 40% from the reference level, which would be 4.14 million tons of CO2 equivalent. And target year is 2030. And here in the last column, we can compare our GHG emissions from the inventory with our reference level, whether it is below or higher than the reference level. Also in this table, we can specify the contribution from the LULUCF sector, and here we can see in additional row the emissions from the LULUCF sector. And actually one of the questions about ITMO was very relevant, because in the table 4 here there are several rows which are dedicated to the country's ITMOs and how to account ITMOs in the table 4 in tracking of NDC. So we will have a detailed look on this row specifically during the training in Seoul. And further down below in this table, there is information on the NDC target itself, information on the reference point, and the final rows, which are one of the most important in this table, is whether or not the country achieved its NDC. And currently we don't have this information, because this information would be available when we will have inventory data for 2030, and we will be able to compare our 2030 data from the inventory with the target level. And we need to specify here whether the country finally achieved its NDC or not by comparing the target level with the inventory data. So going further to the table 5, table 5 is mitigation policies and measures, including those mitigation co-benefits resulting from adaptation actions. So in this table, it includes the mitigation policies, description of mitigation policies and measures, objectives, type of instrument, whether this policy is regulatory, economic, gases affected, as well as estimates of achieved and expected emission reductions. Table 6 is a summary of GHG emissions inventory, and table 7 is the information of projections of GHG emissions under with measure scenario. It's important to note that there are several tables with projections of GHG emissions. Table 7 is the projection of GHG emissions in with measure scenario. Table 8 is projections of GHG emissions with additional measure scenario. And table 9 is projections of GHG emissions without measure scenario. And table 7 is a shell requirement, meaning that table 7 is a requirement, while table 8 and 9 is a may requirement. So the countries are encouraged to provide this information, but it's not a requirement. Table 8 and 9. So in this projections table, there is another column with the most recent inventory data. So here in the case of Mauritius, it was 2016. So those are the emissions by sectors, and we didn't find information on emissions by gases, but this gases table also needs to be filled for the historical emissions 2016 and projected values. Table 8, so we couldn't find publicly available information on table 8 when filling up this table. So the you can see that the cells are blank. Table 9 is a table without measures or business as usual scenario emissions. Here, similarly to the projections with measures scenario, there is need to provide information on the emissions from the latest national inventory report, as well as projected values, and with the 5-year step. Important to note that projections should be provided for at least to 15 years period from the latest inventory, and it should be ending with the year either ending with 0 or 5. So we cannot specify here to 2036, but we can specify 2035. So the years ending either with 0 or 5. Table 10 is a projection of key indicators. So we know that the Mauritius has an indicator of total economy-wide GHG emissions. And here the projected values for total economy-wide GHG emissions is provided. And if the country has several indicators, then additional rows can be added here. But in this case, we have one indicator, which is total economy-wide GHG emissions. Table 11 is a key underlying assumptions and parameters. I couldn't find information in the publicly available source, so it's now blank. But in the case of submission of the BTR, then this data can be filled in. So here the key underlying assumption is actually the input data provided in the models, which was used for developing projections of GHG emissions. So if some Times Markov, LEAP, GASMOR, or any other model was used for developing GHG emissions projections, then the key input data such as gross domestic product, gross sectoral value added, the industrial production levels, population levels, number of households, etc. The key drivers that were used in the relevant models can be inserted in this table. Table 12 is information necessary to track progress on implementation and achievement of domestic policies and measures implemented to address the social and economical consequences of response measures. So some of the response measures or climate mitigation measures may affect on social economic development of the country. It was probably the case for the oil producing countries. So the these oil producing countries can specify the response measures to address these social economic consequences of response measures. And in Mauritius case, it was not reported. And probably in some oil producing countries, they will be able to fill in this table 12. So this is it for the CTF tables. I will be happy to answer your questions.
Yeah, thank you, Amgul, for the introducing the all CTF table 1 to 12 for the all the participant. So participant, these are the tables that each in the ETR you have to report this table. As of now, we have developed this Excel base, but at the end, when you prepare your BTR, you have to report this kind of data for the all table into web-based software. So I think you are aware, though, in the last June session, UNFCCC has shown a demo of the ETF reporting tools. So they have a three tools. One is for the greenhouse gas inventory, second is for NDC tracking, and third is for the support needed and whatever is the received. So for these 12 tables, we have to fill this data in the UNFCCC reporting tool. I think around some few days, you will also receive some link from the UNFCCC to your country UNFCCC focal point. So you can also use trial based software. You will get, I think, 3 access per country they are giving. And the good news is that in the Seoul workshop, our UNFCCC colleagues are also present there, and they will also give you a demo of the how the web-based software is web-based platform is look like. So when you develop your indicators and you know that these are the numbers for the all the tables, you just have to fill it in the web-based software. So they will show you how the web-based software is work and how you will can prepare the all the data and just fill it the table in the web-based software so you can prepare the reporting tables. So you have to just put this reporting from the web-based platform. You can just export this table to your BTR. So yes, so this is the kind of the requirement for the NDC tracking, and maybe you will feel some kind of you are not maybe understand the detail of this all the table, but we will go in detail by each table during the Seoul workshop. So we have a session for each tables. But for the today's webinar, due to time paucity, we have not taken much time for the each table. But in the Seoul workshop, we will take a parameter by parameter for each table, and IM goal is also there. So she will give you some more time and will give you a demo of how the each parameter, each indicator's meaning of that, and what are the flexibility that you can take, or maybe you want to because if you use the flexibility, you have also used to give some explanation or maybe a more transparent to inform that we are using flexibility. So as IMGOL is saying, if you are for the table 7 is compulsory, like it is a with measure scenario. So also let me tell you about the with measure, without measure scenario. So these kind of tables are reporting by the developed country. So as of now, they're doing this kind of exercise in the national communications and the biennial report. But for the developing country, it is not mandatory. So we are not doing any kind of projection for our policy. Of course, we are reporting the mitigation assessment of the each policies. Like if you have a solar or electric vehicle policy, then this policy, how much the carbon emission or total emission saved by this policy in the 1 year. We are doing this kind of exercise, but not the projection. Like how policy will be effective in the 2025 or 2030. So these tables are like which measures means you have already measures that you have taken in your country to save or mitigate the carbon or total emissions, whatever is in your country. So maybe you have a solar policy or electric vehicle policy or any other industrial energy efficiency policy. So when you combine this, all the efficiency, all the measures that you have taken in your country, this is the sum of the total emission that you have saved because of this policy. If these are measures you have not taken, then it will be without measures for scenario. So like you have not taken any initiative in the renewable energy, then maybe your emission will go up very far, very far. Maybe you reach more beyond the limit. But the good news is that you have already taken some initiative. So you can reduce, so if you can draw the linear chart, you can see that from the 2000 words to 2020, 20 or 25, because of this all policy, your emission is or in the is under control, not going much forward. So these are the kind of the tools, and maybe you feel something complex about this keywords that are not maybe understanding to you, but we are available, and MGUL is also available, and we are all organizers are available to support you. Even after the today's webinar, if you have during you are filling the tables, if you have any question, we are available. You just drop an email. Even we can do some call between you and us for a short call, like what are the tables, and if you want to understand how you're maybe you are not able to understand what are your NDC want to tell, and what are these parameter you and where you can find information. Most of the information, some if it is not available publicly, then maybe you have to contact the responsible agency or ministry or organization who produce this data. So I am from India, so I will tell you one example for the like for India has a we have a in the NDC target we have a capacity, we have targeted that we achieve the like 45 or 50% of fossil install capacity, electric install capacity from the renewable, not the fossil. So there are a organization called the Central Electricity Authority. It is under the Ministry of Power. It collects all the data from the all over the India that this is the per month install capacity for the from last around 20 years. So if the data is most of the are available on the web place platform, so we will collect from the data and can see that from like in 2000, India's non-fossil fuel capacity is 10 gigawatt, but in 2020 and 2020 it is around 100 gigawatt. So you can say that these are the growth of the installed capacity, non-fossil fuel based installed capacity. But if data is not available, then we have to contact the Ministry of Power that for the BTR, we have to report this kind of tables, and it is a compulsory requirement. So you can please provide this data related to the non-fossil fuel installed capacity by the year from 2000 word on to for last 20 years or whatever you are reporting, maybe from 1990. So whatever data you have to collect from the Ministry of Power, it will be also useful for the BTR reporting. So yes, so this is the kind of, because we have a time, I am giving you some explanation about these tables. And now we are open to questions. You must have some lots of questions. If you are not asking, then I can understand. I have to contact you personally. So yes, participant, you can ask.
Good afternoon, Jaipal.
Hi, Krishna. Yes, Krishna, you can ask.
Sadadikari from Nepal. So interesting introductory webinar of tracking progress of the mitigation country commitments of the nationally determined. The introductory webinar is so interesting. I'm so happy, and I want to thanks to all of entire team of your and the task is so difficult and interesting. Data collection work is so vast. So uh, there is so many kind of support you provide us. We try our best in teamwork. Nepal Ministry of Forest and Environment, Department of Climate Change and Management Division. We do jointly collect data jointly and complete this task. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Krishna. And we
Welcome.
will, yeah, we will look forward to see you soon in Seoul. Yes, so Elizabeth from the Malaysia. Yes, Elizabeth, floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you for going through with us the different tables and what can we expect in Korea next month. I just wanted to also seek clarification under methodology. Um, often we talk about methodology and accounting, or methodology or accounting. And accounting approaches, I would understand, is either you use a reference point or you use a period or use business as usual, something like that. That's the accounting that I understood. Um, but I also want to raise a question since my beloved friend from FAO is here too. Um, for Afalu sector or even Lulu CF, perhaps there are other accounting methods that's available as well, beyond just between a reference point. So would that would be also covered in the session? Thank you.
Yeah, maybe I'm Gul and Mirela both are here. So maybe one by one. Yeah, I'm Gul, you can tell us.
Yeah, maybe Mirella could more elaborate. I'm not so much of the forestry expert, but in general, with regards to the methodological and accounting approach table, so the idea is to transparently report which of the accounting approach is used for either for the historical data, for the inventory, and as well as for the reference level, for defining the indicator, etc. So if it's IPCC methodology or other methodologies are used, then this information should be reported. Thanks. Maybe Mirella could provide more.
Thank you so much, Liz, for the question, and nice to see you here, and we'll be really happy to meet you in Seoul. By the way, say regarding the accounting tool for also giving helping the country to give a proper value of accounting for the forest experts. Indeed, FAO has been also developing a tool that is called the Next, the NDC expert tool. Is not the primary objective of the presentation that I will give it, because it's more focused on the NDC tracking tool, but properly in the section of looking at how to track a kind of GAG inventory tracking system for the Afalo sector. I will do some recall on the next tool. So I will provide just a few information, but happy also to provide you some more direct link with the expert teams that they are working on the tool itself. So we will discuss on that in any case.
Thank you, Mirela, and thank you, Mgul, for the question and answer. Elizabeth,
Yeah,
is
sorry,
it a new question? Okay, okay.
Yeah, sorry to come back again. I also had another question to ask. For the projections part, would the tools for projections would also be discussed in Seoul? I mean, for energy sector, there's a lot of tools, but for the other sectors, it's a little bit more difficult. And the little tools that are available, perhaps maybe other countries do have, but Malaysia finds it difficult to fill some of the information needed. So thank you.
Thanks a lot for the question. Indeed, we have several presentations actually about the projection projection models. Particular at UNEP CCC, we are developing and conducting trainings on gas model, greenhouse abatement cost model. And during the training in Seoul, we're going to have presentations on the GASMO and LEAP model, because we would like to provide more information not only on one model, GASMO, but also LEAP model, which is very popular in the Asian countries, which is widely used in Asian countries. So we are going to have a session on the projection tools and how to use these tools to fill in the CTF tables, to prepare projections on with measures, with additional measures, without measures, etc.
Yeah, thank you, Angul, for informing about the projections and the tools available for the projection, GASMO and the LEAP. Is there any question from the participant regarding the CTF tables? Because you have to fill this table in the next stage, so it's better to ask the question here. Yes, Bujidma from the Mongolia. Yes.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation, I am Go. Just a question. You mentioned a few times that if there's one indicator and then you say if country has other indicators, is it like, as I understood, there will be a list of indicators that we can use, available. And if it is available, we can use. So I'm guessing more indicators we use is better to track in. But is it like when you say if means, is it we should, or is it the requirement to use more than one? Of course, more one is has to be, but more than two or more. So I'm just wondering, since Jepal says we will going to work on it, we have to also think about which indicators to choose. So how we gonna, like, is it like more obvious that we can choose those, does that, or how you suggest to choose the indicators for the tables? Thank you.
Thanks a lot for a very relevant question. Indeed, during the Seoul training, we will have a presentation and exercise with the selection of indicator, how to select the best suitable indicator, and to ensure that indicators are quantifiable, that they are measurable, etc. And as regards to the requirements, so there is no clear indication that the countries shall have several indicators or one indicator. It's just specified types of indicators, that it could be total economy-wide indicator, or it could be installed capacity of renewable, number of hectares for forests, etc., etc. But from my understanding, developed countries, they have to have economy-wide GHG indicator, because economy-wide GHG emissions account for all the sectors, while sectoral indicator focus only on specific sectors. So in an ideal situation, of course, not accounting for the requirements, but in an ideal situation, it would be great if to have economy-wide GHG indicator as well as sectoral indicators, which will in total help to achieve economy-wide indicator. Because with economy-wide indicator, it's not clear how each sectors should achieve this economy-wide indicator. So sectoral indicator can help to achieve economy-wide indicator. So from my understanding, the pathway is for all countries to actually have economy-wide indicator, and it would be even better if in addition to economy-wide indicator, there are also sectoral indicator which can help to achieve economy-wide indicator.
Yeah, that's clear. Very clear. Thank you. Many questions in Seoul for sure. Anyways, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bujidma. Is there any other question? Also, I'm good. There is a earlier question by the one Indian participant about the not the quantitative but the qualitative goal of the NDC, how to track it. So if you tell us more, if they are able to track the quantitative, of course quantitative, but the qualitative one.
Yes, so from this CTF table, from this CTF tables, the table 4, which is actually for tracking the NDC indicator, well, it would be easier to track quantitative indicator because we're just comparing the figures of the target level with the historical level, and with the qualitative indicator. So probably it will be the same approach, just to fill in whether the country feels that it achieved this qualitative indicator or not. So in the CTF table 4, it has to provide, but with regards to it will not specify the percentage of achievement or some quantitative percentage values.
Yes, got it. So yeah, some countries maybe have a qualitative indicator in their NDC, but if there is not a target to achieve it, then maybe it is difficult to input in the CTF tables. But you can, of course, countries are also putting it in the NDC goals because they are also the priorities in their according to their national circumstances in all the countries. So is there any question to IMGUL regarding the CTF table? If not, then maybe IMGUL will in the next round, she will tell you about what are the data that needed for the following stages. So this is the stage 1. For the stage 2 and stage 3, we need some data from your country. So you have to do some hands-on exercise with your country's data, and the templates will be shared with you. So I'm good. You can start instruction, give some instruction about how to move to and use the stage 2.
Thanks a lot. So let me share my presentation.
Yeah.
So before going to Seoul, we are going to work on the input data tables. So the participants will be asked to fill in the Excel template with 3 tables: Table A, Table B, and Table C. And this data, during the training itself, we are going to use this data for filling in BTR and NDC related CTF tables, as well as to estimate emission reduction from policies and measures. So the emission reduction from policies and measures would be filled in the table 5 that I showed today. This involves quantitative assessment of the expected emission reduction. So these tables A, B, and C would give us a basis to work on the exercises during the Seoul. So table within the Excel file that we are going to share with you, there are 3 tables. Table A includes an NDC description. Table B includes projection of NDC indicators and projection of key underlying assumptions and parameters used for projections. Table C will include information on mitigation policies and measures with the example of domestic efficient lighting, solar PV, and light-duty electric vehicles. So table A includes the description of the NDC, so either economy-wide GHG emissions or sectoral indicators, quantitative, qualitative indicators, so all kinds of indicators included in NDC should be described in this table, and it's also requires for target year, so whether it's 2030 or other year or years, reference level. So as we discussed today, it could be either business as usual emissions in 2030 or capacity or other indicators in the future year or in historical year. Also, the time frame for the implementation of the NDC, scope and coverage of gases, whether all sectors, all gases are included, or some sectors, some gases are excluded from the indicator. Intention to use ITMO under Article 6, and any updates or clarifications. So the table A actually will be used to fill in table CTF table 1, CTF table 2, within 12 CTF tables. So if the participants will fill in table A before Seoul, then during the Seoul we will copy this information to the CTF tables itself during the practical exercises in Seoul. So the table B in the template that will be shared with you includes projection of NDC indicators, key underlying assumptions and parameters, and projection in with measure scenario. So as I said previously, the projections with measure scenario is a shell requirement, and projection with additional and without measures is a may requirement. That is why we're focusing here on the with measures scenario. And if the country has without measures and with additional measures, then they can also try to fill in other tables in the CTF. So using this data, we'll be able to fill in 3 CTF tables with this filled in table B. And table C includes the data on mitigation policies and actions and measures for implementation of NDC. And here it includes not only information on the policies and measures itself, but also some technical information, like what is the capacity of the renewables, what is the number of efficient light bulbs replacing incandescent lamps, what is the expected planned number of light-duty electric vehicles in 2025, in 2030. So some of this technical information would be useful to estimate emission reduction from this intervention. And during Seoul training, we will share with you additional Excel template, which is GASMO technology sheets, and using this technology information, like amount of lighting bulbs, capacity of solar PV, and amount of light-duty vehicles, we would be able to estimate emission reduction from this mitigation policy and measure. So this information will be used to fill in table 5 in the CTF table, the description of the policies and measures, as well as expected emission reduction associated with this policy and measure. So summarizing the exercise is that participants have to collect the data prior to the training, and this data will be used to fill in BTR CTF tables during the training. And the deadline is 31st of August to provide this data. And the Excel file contains of the three tables: Table A, which involves description of the NDC indicators or indicator. Table B includes the projections with measures, projections of NDC indicator, key underlying assumptions used for the projections. And Table C will be used to fill in Table 5 of the CTF, policies and measures, and we will use some sheets from the GASPO model to estimate expected emission reductions. So that is it for the exercise. If there are any questions related to the data to be collected, I'll be happy to answer.
Yeah, thank you, Angul, for the explanation of the table and demonstration that the good news is for the participants that you don't have to fill the all 12 tables of the CTF, but only 3 tables before the Seoul workshop. So it's a kind of a row exercise for the CTF tables. So if you have any question for this 3 table A, B, C, that will be shared with you. I will send email to everyone, and the deadline is the 31st August. In between, then you are feeling that this is the requirement you are not understanding, or what to have to fill in this particular column or row. Just send me an email to me or Amgul, or you can also request a short call. I will brief you more about the what is the data or what you have to fill in the particular column or cell. So as of now, if you have any question related to these 3 tables, you can ask to Amgul. We will also say the presentation, so you will get to idea that what we have presented in the letter. So I am not seeing any question. Yes, from the India. Yes, Mr. Yes.
Question is like whatever NDC, the data which will be required for before this 31st, is it a real-time data which we have submitted for the country in terms of NDCs?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yes, thanks for the question. Yeah, indeed, you can use NDC, your latest NDC, to fill in this table. And I understand that the NDC may not include the projections or key underlying assumptions. In that case, you may use some data or documents that have been used during the preparation of NDC. So it could be some additional information that actually supported the development of NDC.
Yes, if the information is not publicly available, then maybe you have to contact the agency or organization who are involved for that particular NDC goal.
Again, there's a question. Possibly
yes,
all the information or the NDCs which is required in these tables may not be available with us, as you told already. Then using the data of that particular NDC, so if there is a gap, then what will be the scenarios like? Then
Yeah,
the
actually,
way, yeah.
yeah, actually, this is very relevant question. So that is why we are doing this workshop, because we want to identify the gaps before like the deadline for the BTR will approach, that we are more prepared to collect the data during the process, so that we are ready to fill in the 12 tables. So from my understanding, try to fill in the table that with the data that you have now. So this is just an exercise. This is not yet submission to UNFCCC. This is just for your information that in future you would need to find this information in any case during the PTR submission.
Yeah, but for the maybe if there is a data gap like in the greenhouse gas inventory, we also have some data gap in between the time series here. So from 2000 to 20, if we miss some data for particular year, then maybe we use some IPCC standard practice to fill this data. There is a call some techniques in filling data. I am not the guy. I am not sure about the guideline about the NDC tracking, but maybe we can use that IPCC guideline to fill the gap between this data if there at any chance there is no data available for that year. Am I right, Angul?
If your inventory is I don't know, 2010 or very 2015, then you have to insert the data on 2010 or 2015. So there is no indication that currently you need to have already 2021 or something. So it should be just latest year of the inventory, and you just clarify what is the year of your latest inventory. So there is
Yeah,
you report
because
with what you have currently.
Because in the NDC you have to report the projection, not the historical data, so it will be not be a problem for the NDC tracking chapter. Maybe it's problem for the greenhouse gas inventory, not for the CTF tables. So is there any other question to? Yeah, teacher from the Thailand.
Yes, thanks for allowing me to have a questions again. So it's not that a question is a bit like a concern. So the information quite now overwhelmed to me because this is the first time that we see the table and we think about quite a lot of data to fill in. So I think in Thailand we need to make it more close to the real data that we have in hand, so at least we can reflect some real number or that might be really related to the current situation that we are trying to do the NDC tracking for the first year for the 2021. I have the concern for the projections of the business as usual based for the baseline. So for our NDC, we done the projection by use our own models. It's called the M model. So it's quite have a specific factors and parameter that sometimes is generated from the model. So I'm not sure that when we put that number to do the projection again, the end years of our emission will remain the same with the previous projection or not. It means like right now we already stick with the number of the emission in the year 2030, that we stick that as the business as usual, and then we try to find the measures to reduce the greenhouse gas from that level. So it means like if we try to do the projection again, I'm not sure if this will be the exercise So how to make sure that number will be the same, because we set at the target of the country already that we will reduce the greenhouse gas from 555 million ton CO2. So that is the concern. I'm not sure I'm understand correctly that the projection will be one of the exercise that countries should put the parameter, and then we see again the projection. And then right now we had quite a number of the mitigation measures. For example, in the energy sector, we have like 12 measures, from the RE, from the solar, the wind, from the waste to energy. So should we have all, parameters and the numbers in terms of, I don't know what should be provide, or what should be like the minimum, set of information that we have in hand, because that pretty much be the implementation under the Ministry of Energy. And right now we try to finalize the methodology for tracking our NDC. That means like for each measure we will have a different parameter or the indicator for tracking. So I don't know, like we should prepare for how much of information they cannot see, like that a broad picture right now, or just in case that we can find like the what should be like a minimal, I mean, set of information that we should have in hand, because we don't know how much we can get that or complete like parameter from the Ministry of Energy. So what should be the recommendation here to make like the first step of the preparations of the data?
Thanks a lot. Thanks for the question. So with the second question, with 12 mitigation measures, so currently this information to be collected for the template file, it shouldn't necessarily include the description of all measures. So our idea is that we practice a bit how to fill this table, and we don't necessarily aim to fill with all mitigation measures that countries have. So the idea is to practice with few, maybe 2 or 3 mitigation measures, and how to fill this table 5. So you can insert 2 or 3 mitigation measures. So we are now focusing on the 3 types of mitigation measures. It's efficient lighting, solar PV, and electric vehicles. So you can insert these values there, and the values that you have, and you don't necessarily need to provide the emission reduction estimates, because we will train during the Seoul how to estimate the emission reduction. Currently, you can just list the 3 mitigation measures, identify what sectors are affected, what are the gases affected, and that's it. So the idea is just to practice a bit and get an idea what is the approach to fill the table, not necessarily to get all answers or all the data filled in 100%. And as regards to your first question, actually, I didn't understand, but maybe since we don't have much time left, maybe you can send an email, and I will try to answer bilaterally. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Thank you, Aimgul. And the THIS, you can also send email to me or with copy to Aimgul. We will happy to answer if you can also say the detail, what are the table ABC. And after seeing the table, you can also ask if you have another more question. We are happy to answer. So yes, I am not seeing any hands. So let's move to the next last exercise. So this is not kind of a presentation or kind of any that you have to do, but this is the kind of how to use. There is a FAO NDC tracking tool which Mirela will give you introduction, what is the tool and how. So we want that you can at least introduce, install this tool in your system. So we will do some practice in this Seoul workshop. So what is this tool and how to install? Mirela will tell you. So yes, floor is with you, Mirela.
Thank you very much, Jaypal, for the allow me first of all to share my screen. Just if you can confirm me that you see it.
Yes, I can see.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much to everyone. So I'm going to talk about the NDC tracking tool really shortly because that will be the most focus of the event in Seoul. So the NDC tracking tool is just a very simple tool that helps to facilitate the collection of the information that are required for tracking the NDC. So is a really supporting the preparation of the tables that we have been discussing so far. The tool to differently from the table itself, the tool allows for comparing planned versus implemented mitigation and adaptation action, also in graphical format. And that is what is sometimes very useful in order to get a little bit better understanding how to improve and how to see, and having a clear impacts of what is possible during the preparation of the table. It helps also evaluating GHG reduction achieved against the sector and in the economy-wide baseline and target. And that is again in also graphical format and not only on data sites. So I have several main features that are described here, but we will go in very details during the Seoul presentation, but mostly also monitoring the mitigation policies. Let me say that the CTF table are the requirement that to be reported to the UNFCCC. The tool goes sometimes a little bit behind the requirement, but provide additional kind of support for having a proper tracking, also looking at the different mitigation policies and try to come out with a sort of output results of the main indicators of the NDC. So that's going back also the story of we have one indicator of main indicators. So you can differentiate what you had to report to UNFCCC and what you needed to have in terms of the tracking in order to build up the value of the tracking of the indicators of the NDC as such. Is a structure in Excel, easy to use. Is just have several modules and also have, as we say, some results in number formats, but also a sort of dashboard with a more graphical format. So all the information are having only as objective of facilitating the reporting with the tabular format. So what we want to focus here in reality is the installation, because many times people just download the software, but not necessarily look specifically at the guidelines. And in order to avoid to lose time during our session in Seoul, it will be great if you can make already your exercise in the computer that you will bring with you in Seoul. It doesn't require very high sophisticated also for answering also Bujima question, not necessarily very sophisticated computers, as we say, is in Excel format. So you can go to this link and allow me also to put in the chat the link. Wait a minute. So I'm not having it right now on the spot. I don't know if you have already prepared in the chat.
I will put it down
yeah,
in the chat.
yeah, exactly. So, but so the link will bring you to this page. Allow me also to show you the page itself. That's how it looks like. And right now I have the link, so I can give it to you also in the chat. So you will receive this page where you can download the user manual, and then scrolling down, you will download the NDC tracking tool here. That is an Excel format. When you download the user manual in the annexes, you will find all the instructions that provide you really to the effectiveness of the use of the tool. So if we are going back right now to what we do, so first of all, what is very important to remember, now if you do today, or tomorrow, maybe remember that don't run the tool from any kind of a cloud synchronized folders. So try to copy as much as you can. You download you copy the tool in the main AirDrive, not even in the desktop, something that many people will be doing also during the previous events, but really putting in your hard drive. So that's is what I have been properly doing. So in the root C, I have been doing a folder on NDC tracking where you will download and you put your Excel. So you are going to open the Excel and you will receive this type of problem. So first of all, there is a written security check, and so you say you learn more, and so here you can get a better understanding. But so that is what it will return, saying that there is a potential dangerous macro that has been blocked. So what we want to reassure you is that the macro that they are contained in the Excel, they are not harmful, but some computers can return that question because maybe your company or your organization is blocking for security issues your computer and for the safe of your computer. So going back to the computer, so what you had to do it. So once you receive back this kind of errors, you just close Excel and let's go back together to my presentation in the presentation mode. Yes, sorry for that. And in the presentation mode, so what you do, this is what we say. So enabling content could be the first question that is getting. And then what is going to ask you is open a new Excel session with a blank sheet, select File tab and click on Option. So let's click on Option. So when you click on Option, you receive this kind of cards, where down there here on the left, you will find the Trust Center, and then you needed to click on the Trust Center setting. So on that one, so you needed to select the trust location on the left. Let's see. So here, that is the new Trust Center windows. You go really on top and you find the trusted selection, trusted locations. So you had to add a new location, and your new location, it will be the one that you have been using for downloading the software. So is as you see before, I was putting on a C NDC tracking tool, and so indeed, what you're going to do is properly that. So you type the location where you saved the Excel. That is a CNDC tracking tool. You can browse or you can type. You need to remember to click on subfolder of this location are also trusted. So remember to just select also this option, and you click OK. So at this point is just a continuous OK in closing all the windows, and your computer will be able now to run the Excel file. So I hope that you can try. You have this recording, you can following. You will have also this presentation in order to provide this to really initiate and start to upload on your computer. And for all the description of the tool and also the exercise, we see you in Seoul. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you, Mirela, for telling and informing the participant about the NDC tracking tool by FAO. So Participants, if you have any question during the installation, you can also get back to us or Mirela to if you have any query to installing the tools. And if you Mirela has already posted the link here, so through a manual you can also get to know that how to follow the all the step and you will successfully install the tools on your system. So if you have any question to Mirela, you can ask here. Or we have just a small one question through a Mentimeter exercise where we need feedback. So organizers also need to improve before this Seoul workshop. So we need a transparent review from you, like transparency in your BTR. So let me go there. I am posting the link of the Mentimeter exercise in the chat box. So please click that link and you will be directly go through the Mentimeter exercise. I am also sharing my screen here. If you are not able to access the chat box, then you can scan this QR code and you will access the link of the Mentimeter. Or
Hi, Jaipal. Actually, I didn't. Now I'm in official purpose outside. Will you just provide me this link and password so that I can access other time?
yeah, if you can access the chat box,
Okay.
just click the link.
Which box? This box.
In the chatting.
Chat box.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
but
am posting it here again.
chat box. I think when right now I don't have this capacity to download this one.
No,
So
you don't have to download it. Just it's like a web-based link.
Mm-hmm. If you don't mind, will you send me in my email so that?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, we are receiving around 25 responses. So is there anyone? Yeah, 26. Good number. Actually, we have around 50 participants. So I request everyone to vote for the organizer so we can improve or we can also understand. Okay, around 27 has answer. If someone has, I will also share this link with after this webinar. So if you not able to access the Mentimeter, you can just click on the link and vote. So this is also the requirement for us to report our higher authorities. So please click this link and give your feedback. Okay, I am stop sharing this. And the last one, I will show you the photos of the organizers. So okay. So here are the organizers which will be available in this Seoul workshop to help you and to explain you everything about the NDC tracking. So you can see here, Don and Milan from the South Korea. They are supporting us and they are hosting this workshop. We are grateful to them. Miyako and Dominic and Joe here is from the PATPA. Dominic is from the international organization, but Miyako is from the PATPA. She will come there. Josh is our facilitator, so he will explain and organize this 3-day workshop very effectively in the Seoul. And from the CBIT GSP, Fatima Zara, I am and Aimgul and me are available. And from the FAO, Mirela will be there. Okay, let me stop sharing. And now I think it's the time to close this webinar. But still, if you have any urgent question or anything that you want to understand, please feel free to I can extend maybe 2-3 minutes more if you any urgent question. Okay, I think we don't have any question. Thank you so much for attending today's webinar. Thank you all the organizers who come today. And thank you all the participants and you take time and come today. I will send you one email that contain all the presentations and everything on our platform so you can access. Also, I will send an email to the tables that you have to fill. So table ABC, which will explain by the I am good. I will send this table to everyone so you can fill this table. If you have any problem during filling this table, you can of course email to any of us and we will happy to answer that. And for if you have any other question, of course you can also ask. So yeah, thank you so much for everyone. I think it's around 1 month and we will meet you soon in the Seoul. And I also want to inform you that the logistic note that some of you are asking, we will share it soon with you. It's almost ready. So maybe by the end of this week, I will share with everyone because some UNDP and UNEP sponsor participants are required for the permission. So we can understand, we will share it with you soon. Okay, now we are closing this session. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining today.
Thank you. Have a good night and good day. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. See you in Seoul.
Okay, bye-bye. See you.